Are you originally from Ashland?
Born and bred.
What neighborhood or community did you live in?
In the north central part of Ashland, over on Chapman Street. My parents bought the house the same year I was born, in '55. My dad got out of the Korean War and came back. He used to work for DuPont Laboratories in Richmond. He got out of the Korean War and was hired as an assistant manager at Cross Brothers grocery store in Ashland. And I was born in '55, and we lived at the same address on Chapman Street all of my life. My parents still live there. In 1973, graduated from Patrick Henry High School. The same year, my parents and another couple bought Cross Brothers Grocery from the Cross family, who were getting elderly and wanted to get rid of the business. And I started college and went for 6 weeks, and my family asked if I could come help with the family business. So I ended up dropping out of college and working at Cross Brothers since actually I worked part-time for the Crosses before the store was sold in '71, and been working there all my life.
So how many people lived in your house?
It was my mom and dad and sister that's 2 years younger than I.
How have you seen Cross Brothers store move out through the years? Has it changed a lot?
As far as the quantity, the amount of business has degressed because of the larger stores. We have survived the enlargement of A&P, the Safeway store, the U-Crop store, Food Lion, Walmart. We've survived them all. We have charge accounts, and we do deliveries. We service several restaurants in Ashland and Hanover with our butcher business, with our meat business.
Can you tell me anything else about any historic buildings or stores in Ashland?
The Hanover Arts and Activity Center used to be the Ashland Baptist Church, and that was used as a hospital during the Civil War. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Randolph-Macon College is historic because it's been here so long, and used to be all male when I was a child. Finally got smart and went co-ed and expanded.
Can you tell me anything about the train station?
Just our storefront of Cross Brothers is right on the tracks. And of course there are train enthusiasts there daily, almost hourly, to see trains and take pictures of incoming Amtraks and freight trains. I guess when I was a child, it was exciting to me, but having worked in front of the store, at the store in front of the tracks since 1971, they don't bother me at all. I don't even notice them most of the time.
Do you have any fun childhood stories or any traditions you did as a child?
I've had, when I was about 4 years old, my neighborhood was, all my friends in the neighborhood decided they wanted to go fishing. I was 4, and I went in and asked my mother if I could go fishing. She said, sure. I think she thought I was going to fish in a mud hole somewhere. Well, about 6 of us walked out to a gigantic pond about a mile and a quarter away from our house. And since I had permission, I didn't think any more of danger or where I was or how worried Mother might be. Well, I found out a couple hours later when she was searching all over the neighborhood, and somebody must have given them the message that we went out to Lux Dairy at the pond. And when she got there, there's about an 8-foot drain on the pond that goes under Route 54 to another pond, and it was like a 2x10 off the edge of the pond out to this drain, and I was walking on it. 4 years old and couldn't swim, but I was a daredevil when I was 4. Well, I was punished severely that day. But it was an exciting time up to that point.
Do you have any hunting stories?
Not really, but I do serve on the rescue squad. I have for 26 years and done a lot, seen a lot, and every time you think you've seen everything, each call is a little different. I've been to lots of accidents. My very first call when I joined the rescue squad was a child being hit by a train. He was walking down the tracks, and it was a fast-moving train. He didn't hear it, and that was, I figured if I could emotionally live through that trauma, that I could handle anything else. Well, I've been through severe motor vehicle accidents, motorcycle accidents, a very large percentage related to alcohol. I've been to many calls on the campus of Randolph-Macon for alcohol-related problems, either unconscious or jumping out of the window. It hasn't been too many years ago that intoxicated student wanted to just see if he could touch the train when it went by, and it almost ripped his arm off. So I have seen a lot in the rescue squad. I've enjoyed serving the community and helping out. It's a good experience and rewarding to help save a life. And I've helped deliver babies. That's about all I can say about that. Is although I've been doing it for 26 years, and because of my age, I'm slowing down on not running all night and didn't get up going to work the next day. It's kind of tiring.
Do you know like what time the rescue service started or when it was established?
The rescue squad was started in 1950, and I joined the rescue squad in 1981. Many changes. The original ambulance, the first ambulance the rescue squad had was a used Packard hearse from a funeral home. Since then, the rescue squad is, with all other emergency services, have graduated on up to the elite, everything you need on the ambulance except for a doctor.
What other emergency systems are in Ashland currently?
We have an excellent police department that tries to stay off the campus, except for true emergencies. We have a fire department that's next door to the rescue squad, and that's the fire department in Ashland. Station 1 is the only station of 11 in the county that is totally volunteer. All other stations have some paid staff working at the stations. So we're very fortunate to have enough volunteers to cover duty every day and every night, 365 days a year.
How do you feel about Randolph-Macon being in the town, and like how do the emergency people feel about it?
I don't think they have a problem except for the 2 a.m. calls that we're always in hopes that very young males and females will learn from that mistake there have been fatalities in the past from accidents on the campus, and few have been fatalities, fortunately. But, drinking, and I understand that it's on all campuses, just that I don't have to deal with all campuses. I have two daughters that have graduated from college, and I'm sure they were at Virginia Tech far enough away that I couldn't see what they were doing. Yeah. I just had to have faith that they'd survive that 4 years there.
Did your family go to a church as a child or as now?
Yes, I grew up in Hopeful Baptist Church in Montpelier, where my dad grew up. And after I got married in 1974, my wife and I continued to go to Hopeful, and my two daughters, one born in '79 and one in '83, both grew up in the church. Both of them are married now. One of them is still fairly active in the church. She lives in locally. The other one lives in Northern Virginia in Falls Church.
So does that daughter still live in Ashland? The one that's active in the church?
She lives in Doswell. She's married, and they built a house, and she and her husband built a house in Doswell on his family land. His grandmother gave them land up in Doswell, and they built a house. He's in construction management business, so he pretty much with his friends and family built their own house.
Did you know anything about the trolley service in Ashland?
No, I sure don't. I know there's been one at different functions, but and there's supposed to be one coming, but I don't know much about it.
Did you see any division between like the west side of the tracks and the east side of the tracks as a child and now?
As a child, no, because I lived on the west side and Cross Brothers is on the east side. It's when you're in a hurry sometimes and there's a slow-moving freight train coming through town, that's a problem. And with the rescue squad and the fire department, it poses a problem sometimes with what sounds like when we're dispatched for a true emergency and you're caught on the west side of tracks and you need to get to the interstate, for instance, for a bad accident, and you have to sit and wait for a train. I understand the county has purchased land on the west side of the tracks near Route 1 to build a new fire station. So I imagine when the station goes up, they'll probably put an ambulance there too, so it'll be closer, more access to the interstate and be access to the Randolph-Macon College too.
Do you think that the interstate affects the town of Ashland a lot?
I don't think it actually brings business as far as lodging and restaurants, and that has grown tremendously close to the interstate. It's brought a lot of calls to emergency services because the Ashland Fire Department and Rescue cover from what is the 92-mile marker in Ashland up to Doswell, the 98 marker, and south from 92 to the 86 at Atlee exit. And that it seems like everybody gets out of Fredericksburg and DC, coming south, and relax and fall asleep and run off the road. There are a lot of accidents. There seems to be more accidents in this corridor of the interstate than there are in other places.
How did you feel about the Walmart coming to town?
I disapproved of it. It's here, and I'll tell you, I've only been in there once, and it was on a rescue squad call. I've never purchased anything in Walmart. However, my wife goes frequently because I'm in the business, grocery business, and when discussion came up about Walmart and the proposals, I did not support it at all.
Do you think Richmond affects the town at all, the business or the people?
No, I don't think so. Ashland has built up so much now, you can pretty much get anything you need right here in town. The Home Depot is in Hanover County. Target is just across the line, the Hanover and Henrico line, so you can slip into either one if you can't find what you want in town.
Do you know anything about the governing body of Ashland?
There's the town council that just had a election this past week on, I think it's the 7th of May. And I try not to get too involved in politics because my opinion might affect my business, because I have customers that are from both sides, Democratic side, Republican side, and I don't speak too much publicly about how I feel about candidates. And that's about it.
Do you have any funny stories from Cross Brothers?
Let's see, the funniest story I can probably think of off the cuff is how challenging it becomes sometimes to work with your sister and your brother-in-law and your father for 40 hours a week. I live next door to my sister and brother-in-law. Across the street is my mother-in-law and my parents, and a cousin down the street. It's a family neighborhood that I'm still living in. And I'm not sure how funny it is. It gets funny sometimes, just trying to deal with them trying to deal with me and me with them.
How many people in your family have worked in Cross Brothers?
Let's see, my wife has never worked at Cross Brothers. She's currently a partial owner of Cross Brothers, but she's never been employed by the store. She's retired from an insurance company, Teamsters Insurance Health and Welfare Fund in Richmond. They insure truck drivers like UPS drivers. She's retired. Both my daughters worked part-time for a few years during high school at Cross Brothers. Both of my nieces from my sister's side worked at the store part-time before they went to college. And my oldest niece is a school teacher at John M. Gandy, and my youngest is a nurse that works for a hospice company.
I know there's lots of people that come in Cross Brothers. Are there any regulars or any really colorful people that you'd like to tell us about?
That might be recorded. I don't want to lose any customers this way either. But we do have regulars that shop daily, which is just their routine. My routine, if I lived alone and had to do the shopping, I would probably try to buy my groceries once a week, something like that, and live off on a budget once a week. I have some customers that come in there every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times daily. We have delivery customers that don't live in town. They might be wealthy, or they might be shut-ins, elderly shut-ins, and they usually get deliveries once a month. One customer that lives in Doswell that we deliver to once a month, he's a retired professor from Randolph-Macon. We have other retired professors from Randolph-Macon that shop at the store daily. One was a mathematics professor. I won't reveal his name. Protect myself and him too.
I heard that Cross Brothers does deliver to your house. How long have they been doing that?
Basically since the beginning of Cross Brothers, which was in 1912. We're 96 years old this month, May of 2008. this, just a little article that was in the Hanover magazine last month, and we had another article in the Richmond Metro section this month talking about our anniversary and the history of Cross Brothers. It was pretty interesting. I didn't like the pictures in the articles, but they didn't do enough brushing up for me.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of Cross Brothers that you know?
It started in 1912 by brothers Herbert and Walter Cross, and some of their children inherited the store from them in the late, probably 40s, and they kept the store until 1973 when my parents and William and Ruth Hawthorne, Ruth was another employee of the store, together formed a corporation, and we didn't change the name from Cross Brothers Grocery to Willis Brothers or anything. We kept the name and incorporated, I say we, it was they at the time, incorporated in 73, and the stores, since 1912, the store's been added on 4 times. It's still relatively small compared to Ucrops or Walmart, and business has dwindled as far as getting business from Randolph-Macon students. I think most of them go to Walmart, or the 12 suitcases come from Rite Aid and things like that. Have a lower price than we do.
Let's see. What are some childhood stories that you have, or what did you do for fun as a child?
Oh, I played games in the yard, rode my bike to school. Had a very good neighborhood with boys and girls that were my age. My spouse grew up in the neighborhood. When she was about 7 years old, they moved from another location in northern part of Ashland to a house down the street from my family. And our relationship kind of vaguely started then when I was 7 years old. And started the Easter that she was there. I brought her a chocolate Easter bunny for Easter. Our relationship really didn't start through high school until my senior year of high school, and I was a baby. We were babies when we were married at 18 in April of '74. I became 19 in July of '74, a big boy. But we've surpassed most statistics, and we're still married. This childhood was fun. Most of childhood was fun. I've had some health problems starting in my childhood. When I was 7, I had a grand mal seizure, possibly from head trauma. That wasn't sure whether it was head trauma or high fever I'd had in the past. I only had one seizure when I was 7, and they put me on anticonvulsant Dilantin, and had no more seizures until my senior year in high school. And then I started having what's called petit mal seizures. It's a focal type seizure where I would just get rigid and for a few seconds and stare, which was not good because it affected my driving. I didn't know when I was going to have the seizure. Some people can feel the seizure coming on, but I couldn't. And it didn't chase my wife away. She stuck with me, and let's see, in 1980, after going through all kinds of types of medication, trying to control my seizures, at the time there was an experimental surgery, and I was dealing with the head of neurology at VCU Medical Center, which used to be MCV, Medical College of Virginia. And he sent me to a surgeon in Miami, and the surgeon, they ran tests on me, and they located a spot on my brain that was causing the seizure with electrodes through my skull into my brain. In May of '80 and September of '80, I had surgery. See this little hole right? There's two more over here. They opened up my head, went into my brain, removed a portion of my brain that was causing my seizures, and I've had none since September 15th of 1980. Wow. And I'm on no medications. Of course, if I forget things, I use that as an excuse.
What medical stations are in Ashland?
Medical stations. There are 2 or 3 doc in the box, we call them, the rescue squad. Most of the doctors are general practitioners. There's one just outside of town that deals with internal medicine, and I've been to him for simple things before, sinus infections or something like that. But there are no hospitals in Ashland. There is one in Hanover County between Ashland and Mechanicsville, and that's about 10 years old now. And that was a big change for the county and for emergency services also, because our transport time to a hospital was a lot shorter, and if we had serious patients, we could get there a lot quicker with them, rather than going to Richmond to one of the other ones.
Can you tell me anything about the burning down and the rebuilding of the Henry Clay Inn?
No, I was before my time. No, the rebuilding, that was just what I understand, just a business for the family that was, I think it was an engineer that decided to, I think he was working in Richmond, but he decided he got the land at a good price on the tracks, and initially it did a real good job, and I don't think it does a real big business except for special events at the college. That I think a lot of parents come to special events, football games and things like that.
Are there any dentist offices in Ashland?
Yes, let's see, there's one on the tracks that my wife goes to. There's a dentist office over beside the library, the county library over on the tracks, that my dentist that I went to probably half of my life passed a few years ago. And before the new dentist moved in, which took about a year, I got my records from his office and started seeing one down Henry Street, Henry and England Street, Dr. Haley. I'm very pleased with him. He's a little bit younger than I am. We went to school together there. I've been all the dentists I can think of.
Are there any eyesight doctors in Ashland?
There are a couple. One on the west side of the tracks. There's one on England Street on the east side of the tracks, and there's one up here on Route 1, just north of the Ashland Hanover Shopping Center.
Was there a yearly carnival that came through town?
There used to be a carnival that came to town on the Ashland athletic field across from Henry Clay School until, well, I think the carnival kind of dissolved. It wasn't because we didn't want, or the kids didn't want them to come. As a kid, I enjoyed going to the carnival. We used to have donkey ball games where you hit the ball and jump on your donkey and ride it to the base, and that might have, I was 7 years old when I had the experience of playing that, and I was thrown off and landed on my head, which possibly could have caused my problem.
What did you do as a teen for fun in Ashland?
I stayed out of trouble most of the time. Actually, I got my driver's license, and I did a little dating. A friend of mine that was my age failed a year in high school, and he got behind and didn't get his license before I did. His parents had given him an older model car. Well, I had the driver's license, and he didn't. He had a girlfriend and another friend of ours and his girlfriend. So I ended up being the chauffeur driving that car around the other two couples, and they ended up getting married. so to their children now, I tell them that I'm responsible for them. Because I made it possible for them today.
Has the infrastructure and the roads of the town changed a lot over the years?
Well, it's grown from everything used to be downtown where Cross Brothers is to the edge of town or around the interstate. Walmart's close to the interstate, so the other major grocery stores and department stores. So yeah, we have a hard time trying to keep businesses downtown because most of the traffic seems to be on the edge of town.
How has the town itself grown over the years in population and like store numbers, I guess?
The town, as far as population, has grown drastically because the town has annexed and they put up new apartment complexes, and every little strip of land has a new apartment building. It annexed first on the south side, and they had a new housing development called Slash Cottage that went up, and north of town it was annexed, and they're building, constantly adding on new apartment complex. Some of them are government assisted living, and some not. Some very nice townhouses.
Do you know anything about the women's organization or the Lions Club or anything of Ashland?
I sure do. My whole life since 1981 has been wrapped around the rescue squad almost 2 or 3 nights a week. I'm either running squad duty or training or having business type meetings. Consumes most of my time.
Can you tell me anything more about the rescue squad, like how you got involved in it, or?
I got interested before my surgery in 1980, and I considered doing something like that. At the time, knew I couldn't because I wasn't driving because of my seizure problem. After my surgery, and I was seizure-free for a year, I got my license. Actually, they never took my license. I voluntarily stopped driving because I didn't want to kill myself or anybody else. And I think now, if you have a seizure, it's automatically taken away from you.
Is there a DMV in Ashland, or did you have to go to Richmond?
Richmond. Had to go to Richmond. There used to be one north of Ashland at Carmel Church, but that one's been closed.
You said you went to Patrick Henry High School. Did your children go there as well?
Yes, they did. Both of them. Patrick Henry Patriots. Alumni.
Have you seen the school change over years too?
Oh, yes. There used to be when I was at Patrick Henry, it was open rows of open buildings. Now it's all enclosed, and they have new auditorium, new gymnasium, new cafeteria, and it's probably twice as big as it was in 1973.
Did your school have any rivals?
Lee Davis High School, which is on the east side of the county, has always been Patrick Henry's rival. And we've had some good experiences and some bad ones. Winning years and not so. We did make state champion about 10 years ago, after I was gone, long after I was gone. But I still like to attend the football games. I used to do the rescue squad standbys at the home football games at Patrick Henry on Friday nights. And that was another consumption of my private time.
Do you have any fights between you and Lee Davis High?
I'm sure there have been fights. I wasn't directly involved in them, but we used to do standbys for Randolph-Macon College until volunteer numbers decreased so much that we just couldn't have enough crews to run calls and to stand by for the football games.
Do you know if there's a private school in Ashland or in Hanover?
Hanover Academy is a private elementary school. I think that, I'm not sure, I think it goes through the 7th grade, K through 7. And that's on the edge of town, just the other side of the interstate.
How many people in your family went to Patrick Henry?
My wife and I, both of my daughters, both graduates of Patrick Henry. My parents were graduates of Montpelier High School.
Did your brothers go to Patrick Henry, or did they go to Lee Davis?
No brothers, only one sister, and she went to Patrick Henry.
Did you stay in one house as a child, or did you move throughout the town?
Same home, all 18 years.
Can you tell me anything about your neighborhood?
Let's see. As a small child, I had state troopers that lived on both sides of me, one on each side, and their families. One of those families is now deceased. The other one, the trooper, is alive, but he lost his wife a couple of years ago. When I was about 3, they told me I was playing. He used to come over and have coffee. He and his wife maybe would have a coffee break with my mom while Dad was at work. And when I was about 3, I was playing Superman with my cape, and I dove through the storm door. And he happened to be coming in at the time and caught me and kept me from, the glass broke in a point, and it could have injured me greatly, but he pretty much saved my life that time. That was the last time I tried to play Superman.
Did the police officers have any stories from their childhood or anything?
As a child, I really don't remember a lot of stories from them. One of them used to have a motorcycle, and he used to ride around a lot. I didn't get to ride with him too much. My parents got to ride on the back of the motorcycle with him. I've heard stories about him, how rough he used to be as a trooper. He didn't give you any slack. So.
Do your grandparents have any interesting stories that they've told you?
Both of them were farmers, and back then they lived off the land rather than having jobs and businesses.
Has your neighborhood changed over time?
Just in age. All that are left are getting old. Like my parents and my in-laws are seniors now, and it's probably fortunate for me to be able to live so close to them, and I'll be able to help take care of them rather than living out of state. And I might not send them to a nursing home as quick as I might have to if I had to make that decision from a distance away.
Do you know of any war stories?
No, not really. Haven't had a couple of church members that went to Vietnam, and they were traumatized by some of the things that they saw. My dad was in the Korean War, but he was worked on heavy equipment like bulldozers and things like that that built airstrips in Korea. He was more of a mechanic than a military fighting person.
What churches are in Ashland?
There's St. Anne's Catholic Church. There's First Baptist Church of Ashland. There's Ashland Christian Church, Ashland Presbyterian Church. The First Baptist Church of Ashland is about 200 yards away from my house. However, I bypass it every Sunday and drive 20 miles to Montpelier to Hopeful Baptist Church, where I grew up in.
How has the congregation changed in the church that you go to?
It seems to be dwindling. It's hard to keep young people in church anymore. We tried youth directors, and it's just hard to. There's so much of a variety of other things for youth to do nowadays that it's hard to keep them interested in the church.
How has current day youth changed from when you were a child?
I'm sorry?
How has the current youth changed from when you were a child?
Well, there are less video games and iPods and functions at the schools. There were less things that you could get involved in. I'm sure there are still young youth that get involved in soccer and Little League and miniature football and cheerleading or whatever they do now, but it's just gotten away from religion, unfortunately.
Does Ashland have their own baseball league?
They have Ashland Little League. I played Little League and senior high, baseball, but that's and has its own miniature football team and soccer team. They usually play in town or they go to the Hanover County Poor Farm Park. They play.
Did you know anything about brownies, and did you ever go there?
No, my oldest daughter, I think, initially got started in the brownies, but it didn't really last. I think she got more involved in something else.
Okay, well, thank you.
No